Hi there, Shedsters. Welcome. Season's greetings to you all. I do hope that you are having a very happy Christmas tide and a huge Boxing Day welcome to the Holy Shed, my little secret boudoir in the middle of Christmas. And you know, one of the things about being officially retired is that Christmas has kind of calmed down quite a lot for me. I'm not on that old treadmill, of endless Christmas services and events anymore, which definitely pleases my missus, I can tell you. But one thing is for sure, were it not for the pandemic, earlier in December, I would certainly have visited a riding school for children with special needs in Chigwell in Essex. The school is managed by Deborah, who is nothing short of a force of nature, an amazing woman with a passion for helping children with special needs. So I'd have gladly helped to lead their annual nativity service, which is held in a huge barn with an audience of hundreds if it were not for COVID. My connection with all of this is a gorgeous young man called Harry, who I've known really from birth. I married his beautiful parents, our friends Sally and Paul, and I've watched Harry and his brother Toby's progress ever since. Harry has something very rare called kabuki syndrome, and riding horses has just helped him absolutely no end. And I treasure all of my memories of the riding school's nativities, like the time when a young Mary was helped from her wheelchair onto a horse to circle the barn with a little babe in arms and with Joseph at her side looking for somewhere to stay. And then there was the 13-year-old young woman with autism who actually she sang at the opening ceremony of the London Paralympics. And in this nativity, she was singing "O Silent Night" a cappella. And oh, wow. I mean, it still sends shudders down my spine to think of it. But you know what? This very special nativity play makes me wonder if any of the familiar figures in the original story were themselves disabled in any way. And would it have mattered if they were? I mean, what if Jesus had been born with kabuki like Harry, or if he were autistic like the lovely singer? Would the incarnation then be declared null and void? What if the child had been a girl or gay or white? I mean, you do know that he wasn't white, right? But what if any of these things? For me, Christmas isn't just about an event 2,000 years ago. The real message is that God appears constantly in our world. He's being born again and again and again around the world in many different situations, often in the most unexpected or beguiling forms. God, I believe, is likely to turn up anywhere, but mostly where we least expect. Another name for God is mystery, or it could be surprise. According to the story, God became flesh and blood in a Jewish man. But this, of course, doesn't mean that Jews are more favoured by God than others, or less, or that men are more able to represent God than women. It's what theologians call the scandal of particularity. God cannot enter the world generically, through a person devoid of gender or culture or sexuality or historical rootedness. God appeared as a specific human being to affirm the unique value of every human being. He came as a Jew to affirm all races, all faith traditions. In Jesus, we don't celebrate simply the birth of a Jew, much less a Christian, but a human being. Someone who understood this very well was Dorothy Day, who appears in this beautiful icon that I've been flashing around quite a bit this Christmas. Paid the rights to use it, by the way. It's painted by Kelly Lattimore, who calls it Dorothy Day and the Holy Family of the Streets. Dorothy Day was possessed, not to put too fine a point on it, possessed with a passion for social justice and for world peace. She couldn't stand by and watch people being impoverished or marginalised or prejudiced against for whatever reason. She had to do something about it. Equally, she could not abide warfare and violent conflict, even when her activism caused her to be put on the FBI watch list as a dangerous American, or even when it meant going to prison. In her younger days, Dorothy Day became a communist, because that seemed to be the way to pursue this passion that she felt about poverty and oppression and so on. But later on, she converted to Catholicism, and she founded a newspaper, and in fact on the back of that a whole movement called the Catholic Worker, which is still around, although she died in 1980, I think it was. It's still, the Catholic Worker still spawns communities that feed the hungry, that shelter the homeless, and works for justice and human rights. She was also often at odds with the church, unsurprisingly, which she fearlessly criticised when she saw it partaking directly or indirectly in things like oppression or injustice. So let me just show you a little clip from a film called Revolution of the Heart, which is about her.
In many ways, Dorothy Day was a typical grandmother.
I see my grandmother as someone who was very ordinary, but also very extraordinary. I mean, I understood that she was different.
Different because Dorothy Day was so often on the front lines, protesting war and nuclear buildup, creating houses of hospitality for the hungry and homeless, and earning her place on the FBI watch list as a dangerous American.
Yeah, Dorothy Day is a big troublemaker.
As a young journalist, Dorothy Day campaigned for those in need.
Her work keeps putting her front and center in the social movements of the time.
She wrote about workers' rights, child labor. She was attracted to communism, believing it was a way to improve people's lives, all part of a chapter in her own life that would leave its scars. But with the birth of her daughter, Dorothy Day turned from communism and converted to the Catholic faith. There, she discovered a path that for nearly a half-century led her to become one of the greatest champions for the poor America has ever known.
She thought if communism is radical, why shouldn't Christianity be radical? This is radical.
My grandmother always said that she never meant to start houses of hospitality. She never meant to open up soup lines. But what happens when you start writing about these things, people show up at the door.
She wanted the people to exercise their own sense of personal responsibility. You see something that needs to be done, you do it.
But accepting the biblical challenge to be peacemakers also compelled her to become a pacifist without compromise, to use her Catholic worker movement and the newspaper she founded to resist America's intervention in any war. Many believed her behavior was un-American.
She did describe herself as an anarchist.
There's an anarchist dimension to her Christian witness.
Some of the most profound and most rewarding demonstrations that culminated in arrests were with the Catholic worker community.
I think of Dorothy Day as a firecracker that never goes out.
Now this grandmother and anarchist may well be declared a saint.
We'd love to see Dorothy made a saint. For both American middle-class people and for Catholics, they recognized that something extraordinary was going on. They weren't quite sure what to do with it.
She annoyed people because she challenged them.
She would say, "Don't call me a saint. I don't want to be written off that easily."
Well, I think if you take the Lord's words, you'll find they're pretty rigorous. The Sermon on the Mount may be read with great enjoyment, but when it comes to practicing it, it really is an examination of conscience to see how far we go.
I think what Kelly Lattimore has done in this beautiful icon is encapsulate the very essence of Dorothy Day and place it specifically in the context of the Christmas story, to ask, with Bonhoeffer, who is Jesus Christ for us today? Or to ask, can we comprehend the idea of God becoming flesh and blood in homeless people? in refugees, in folk on the margins. It's a very challenging, beautiful icon. When our dear friend Mike Riddell pastored a Baptist church in Auckland in New Zealand, he had regular visits from a guy called Arthur, a man with learning difficulties. Often over cups of tea, Arthur would tell Mike that he was the second son of God, and Mike would grin. But one day, Mike got to thinking, what if that were true, you know? What if Arthur really were the son of God? What if God appeared as a man with mental health issues? You know, someone people perhaps saw as mad. And this prompted Mike to write a novel based on Arthur's story called The Insatiable Moon. And the book that became an award-winning film basically destigmatizes mental illness, but it also poignantly poses the question, where is God being born in our world today? Can we recognize Jesus when he or she stands right in front of us? Dorothy Day said, the mystery of the poor is this: they are Jesus. The mystery of the poor is this: they are Jesus. What you do for them, you do for him. What I'm suggesting is that we stretch that statement beyond the poor to say that the way we treat people with disabilities, people with different ethnicity or skin colour, the way we treat people in the LGBTQ plus community, the way we treat people who are looking for somewhere safe to live, the way we treat women as well as men, all of these things is the way that we treat the child of Bethlehem, the man of Galilee. It's how we treat God. So I'll tell you what, let's drink a toast to that, should we? Because, you know, it's Christmas. Got to have a little snifter of something, haven't we? So if you've got a drink handy, take a hold of it now. And let's drink a toast. Let's drink a toast to the God of great surprises. Hey? A toast to God turning up where we least expect. Let's drink a toast to 2022 and hope it's a better year for people on the margins, especially, you know, for people who've struggled this past year. Let's toast ourselves and let's toast all life on planet Earth. Merry Christmas, everyone. To life, l'chaim. And we're going to finish with a little video that I put together for the last Soul Space. So if you were there, you'll have seen it, in which I've used pictures that I've, you know, scraped together on the internet and put them together with a fabulous version of a very, very favourite carol of mine, sung by Sinead O'Connor. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the holiday, and I do hope 2022 turns out, well, a whole lot better for all of us, for the world. So thanks for being with me for this little time. Go well, stay human, and I'll see you next year.